Hi guys, we're here with another tut for Blender, and let's talk about booleans and bevel drama. So we got this piece here, right? And it's just, booled, but it's not applied, and we don't have bevels. So everything is peachy, right? But let's see what happens when you apply bevels. So we're gonna run bevels, and when you increase the bevels, problem happens. Now, why is that? Well, that happens because we don't have any supporting loops before we actually cut the mesh. And what Blender will do, it will create, when I run a box cutter tool for cutting, you see these edges here, they will be created. This actually shows what Blender would have done if I applied the booleans. So it will run like diagonal edges, to all these cutouts, which is not really desirable. However, if I cut it, right, you see that the bottom edges disappear because I got the line going through now. And if I cut this one, right, things gonna become even more civil, because now we have supporting edges for all these cuts. But what if you applied these booleans, right? So I'm going to actually go ahead and apply booleans using hard ops, and we get these lines being created. Now, first of all, you need to ask yourself a question: is your bevel not too big? Because when the bevel is too big and starts overshooting, then there is nothing you can do, because the thickness of your model cannot support such a thick bevel. See that it's overshooting itself, right? In this, you can see it in this area. So you cannot go too far. There is a limit to where you can bevel. However, this is perfectly fine, all right? The only problem is that we got these nasty edges, and believe me, this is gonna be a problem when you apply the bevel. Like, for example, here, watch this. When I apply the bevel, right, and weighted normals, watch this. You see what happens? It gets pulled. The whole bevel got pulled from over here. So it was running here, it got pulled across, and it's overshooting. And this is gonna be a shading issue that it would take ages to fix. Okay, especially when you have a lot of cuts. So the way to combat this, right, will be ideally you want to run the edges before you cut the booleans. But if you for some reason apply them, you just want to run these cuts afterwards, right? You could do this with a knife, by the way, in edit mode. So you press K, you draw a knife, you press C, you go across, you press Z to cut through, and you press enter. But I'm going to use a box cutter because it's easier. So now I'll probably have to remove all these lines. And my screencast keys, it's not working again. This thing is just absolute garbage. Anyway, so let's select these edges, and I'm gonna select all of these. Okay, so we can actually turn it off now. Select all these diagonals here, right? All this crap that I don't need, and remove them, right? So dissolve edges, and now it's clean, this one too. Now you gotta clean it from both sides, which means I don't mean this and this side, I mean inside. So, in here as well. It's kind of difficult to see, right? So what you can do is go to a side mode, go to this X-ray mode. I'm simply using machine tools, but you can just go here and then press B and select half of it, right, and hide it, okay? Go to edge mode and simply, do the same thing for the inside, because you want to clean it from both sides. So you see how much work it's adding. Look how it's pulling in here. You see the edge is going through across this whole face, and it's pulling geo above on top of the boolean cut. And when you triangulate this, things gonna go really out of hand. And the triangulation is important, because if you want to, for example, bring it to a texturing program like Substance Painter, things gonna get triangulated automatically over there if you do not do this in Blender beforehand. And the triangulation is gonna be computed by by the software, so you never know how it's gonna look. So Alt H to unhide it. Wait a minute, I don't need the cutters. There we go. Remove the cutters. There we go. So now everything is fine. And let's apply the bevel and see how things look, okay? That's okay. I also want to remove these sharp edges on the, I think these are bevel weight edges. So I'm going to remove them. I'm going to select everything, go to Q, mark, and unmark everything. So before we do anything, we need to copy this to the other side, right? So very simply, if my origin point is in the middle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use simply symmetry from from hard ops and symmetrize it across, right? Did it symmetrize? No. Let's try again. There you go. So now it's symmetrically even and it's on both sides and it's clean. Now let's apply triangulate to it. So let's go to modify and triangulate, and let's move the weighted normals above the triangulation and apply it. Well, not this one, wait. One more time. Bevel, triangulation. So let's apply bevel first, triangulate later, right? And there you see, even though things are triangulated, and it does look a bit like a mess, but it's fine because we're on a flat surface, it's hard surface, right? It's not curvy. It doesn't matter because everything looks clean. So now if you bring it to a texturing engine, everything's gonna be perfect, you know? So that's how you handle problems with bevels. Now, if you do have overshooting bevels like this, you know, you're in trouble for real, because you would need to use stuff like Mesh Machine, maybe it will help you, but it's just a lot of tweaking and fixing, and it's really the best practice is to make sure that everything is clean before you apply the booleans. My workflow is half destructive, so semi-destructive. I apply booleans when I know everything is good, and when I like the cut and composition of the cuts and all that, but I make sure that my cuts are clean, so I make sure that they have proper supporting loops, that when I apply bevels I will not have any problems, right? And everything looks clean. So you need to make sure that everything is peachy before you move on with your modeling. Just remember to make sure that you got clean supports for your booleans, preferably not running at the angle into your bevels. So remember that your bevel gonna curve, and if you do something like this, right, that is just bad news, okay, because it's gonna get pulled. So remember, your cuts that support bevels should be perpendicular to the bevel lines, right? So in this case it's gonna be going that way, and in this case it's gonna be that way. Avoid angular supporting edges. This is usually bad news. By the way, guys, I'm leaving affiliate links to HardOps, Box Cutter Bundle, and Machine add-ons. If you want to purchase them and do it through the links, you're going to help me as well. That's all from me for today. Catch you in the next vid.